Unravel is an immediately likable game. You control Yarny, who is appropriately made entirely out of yarn, and one of the most heartwarming characters in recent memory. His goal isn't immediately clear, however, as he works his way through different areas collecting memories. Unravel leaves a lot open to interpretation. While each of its 10 platforming and puzzle-filled levels are enjoyable, the game's ultimate message doesn't emotionally resonate as much as intended. Yarny's main tool of traversal is his own body, which can be cleverly manipulated in a variety of ways. He can shoot a line of yarn and swing from point to point, or pull himself up onto a ledge. Yarn can also be tied at specific markers, allowing Yarny to make trampoline platforms or create bridges and ramps to move items. The game does an excellent job of not only carefully teaching you these mechanics, but slowly building on them over time. Since Yarny uses the twine he's made out of to progress, he can't go too far before gathering more material at a checkpoint. It's an extra consideration that adds another layer to puzzle solving. Figuring out a solution doesn't mean much if you don't have enough yarn to reach the next checkpoint. The game isn't fussy about this mechanic to the point of frustration, but utilizes it just enough to encourage a thoughtful approach. The stages are considerably different from one another, and each has a unique twist. In one stage, you'll roll tiny acorns into large snowballs, which allow you to reach the branches above or crash through icicle barriers. In another, you'll have to run across a field, quickly hiding behind small objects so the birds overhead don't peck you apart. Unravel delights in surprising players, going out of its way to carefully pack each level with moments that will bring a smile to your face. It's curious then that so many of the levels end without a climax. Several times the final challenge is just a rope puzzle or series of platforms, letting go of the momentum earlier sections built up. The end of the game also slips into a bit of trial and error design, where it feels like you have to die to figure out a solution. Thankfully, checkpoints are generous, preventing the issue from becoming anything more than a small annoyance. The meticulous attention to detail is impressive from beginning to end. Bright areas are densely packed with plants, branches, and moss-covered rocks. Soft sunlight peeking through the trees and gentle babbling brooks create a relaxing, tranquil atmosphere that feels almost therapeutic. On the opposite end, some stages are oppressively dark. Thunder cracks overhead, Yarny shivers in the cold, and tipped-over barrels pollute the water with a sickly green liquid. Whatever mood Unravel strives for, its world is remarkably lived in, as though these areas have a history attached to them, rather than merely serving as a collection of video game puzzles. The excellent soundtrack enriches these areas even further with subdued acoustic guitars and soothing strings. Despite how evocative Unravel can be, it still feels as though something is missing. After finishing an area, you'll complete another section of a mysterious scrapbook. Photographs are tied to specific stages, and brief descriptions ruminate on many significant themes, such as life, love, loss, and pollution. Yet these themes are only ever explored at the highest level, and are presented too vaguely to deliver any sort of powerful message. You get the idea that Unravel has quite a lot to say, but never really finds an effective way to say it. Perhaps the game wants players to draw their own conclusions, which is absolutely fine, but there isn't a deep enough well to draw from. The game constantly hints at greater things, but never quite reaches those heights. By the end, instead of feeling moved, we felt content. Unravel is a wonderfully charming game with gorgeous, varied stages and crafty puzzles, but we wish it left more of a lasting mark.